Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. This is my review, my what I think of American Vandal Season 2, The Turdburgler. This is a show that I've been waiting to have come back. I thought I was going to go through episode by episode, break it down, talk about it, but I sat down in one sitting and just blazed through the entire freaking season, and I want to go back and watch it again. If you haven't seen the first season of American Vandal, you are quite literally missing out. This is a wonderfully fantastic show that should have absolutely no right existing in the way that it does. And I mean that like legitimately. The show is goddamn fantastic. It treats true crime documentaries better than I think any other mockumentary of the sort has been able to ever do. It's handled with such professionalism and such class that you think you're watching this true life event. And the writing, goddamn, the writing on season 2 was so much more poignant than season 1, even if the jokes were not as prevalent. And that bothered me. I feel like season 1, when I first saw the trailer and it was like hashtag who drew the dicks. And I'm all like, oh man, oh my God, I can't wait for that, And then, cause I thought it was fake at first, and then I saw that it was real, and then I totally just dove into it, and I've watched season 1 now 3 times, and it's just a great show, but it was really funny. And there was a couple really good moments in there about high school life, and not just that, but just, I guess you could say, in general life, quandaries posited by teenagers that can still follow you through other aspects of your not only adolescence but adult life as well. And this season picks up not long after the events of the first season, where now that Peter Maldonado and Sam are famous for having done American Vandal, and then Netflix picked it up. I love that they actually made that part of the story, was that Netflix went in and actually gave them money to up the production budget in order to render like stuff like the hand job on the dock that little bitch Alex Triboli thought that he lied about getting, and also drone shots and everything else to make it look like it was a low res high school documentary that they helped turn and polish into something that could be Emmy worthy, so to speak. And now they're looking for another case, something else to bite, to sink their teeth into, so to speak. And they get a whole bunch of emails, other vandals, an actual real life murder that they were suggested that they solve, which I thought was fantastic. That little blurb had me laughing my ass off. But really, it was the brownout. Where they had to go to a school, a private high school, a Catholic high school in Bellevue, Washington. And if you don't know Bellevue is like the rich part of Seattle. It's where Bill Gates lives. It's where all like the rich Microsoft guys are, all the tech guys. It is insanely expensive to live there. And this particular high school is where there was the brownout, where somebody had dumped laxative, industrial strength laxative, into the lemonade, and caused over 40 students to shit themselves. And not just shit themselves, shit everywhere. And it wasn't just that. There were 2 more attacks. There was the poop piñata, and there was also the t-shirt cannon shit. And those 2, or I should say those 3 incidences were terrorizing the school for the span of 2 weeks. And it was interesting, because one kid, Kevin McLean, admitted to having been the Turdburgler, and that is where his friend ends up calling in Peter and Sam to come and clear his name. Now, seeing that they'd already done that with Dylan, at least for the most part, from season 1, they wanted to dive into this case, and of course, they could go crash at this girl's house, and her parents are loaded. She had a whole guest house that these guys could use. And they dive into the social life and the students that are inside this private high school. And they uncover, again, a very poignant take on social media and where we are. I initially noticed off the bat that there was a different tone, a different feel, that this particular series this season was really going for something darker, more sinister. And I don't quite know why they did that. I don't quite know why they chose to go that route, but they did. It felt more like, lighthearted. The first season was more lighthearted, more funny, a lot of jokes, a lot of dick jokes, a lot of pot jokes, things like that. This one didn't have that. This one was very seriously put together, and it makes sense when you get to the end and they uncover who the bad guy is, and they go through the whole reason why it happened. You can understand why there was a somber tone, but it also felt like I was watching one of those Netflix documentaries dealing with Catholic school abuse. And it was just one of those ones that it's a little bit harder to get into, because while the first one dealt with like who drew the dicks, and then Dylan Maxwell's character being larger than life and everything else, and the jokes he was making, the commentary he was making, this was devoid of all of that. They actually kind of changed out Dylan's character for a whole bunch of actually really intelligent, well-written teens, and who all had different thoughts and feelings and all had different ways of dealing with the high school life. And it really boiled down to Kevin and everything he had gone through, and the stuff he was accused of doing and the stuff he admitted doing. And then of course it also dealt with a guy named DeMarcus Tillman, who's kind of like he's the guy who lives in a really bad neighborhood, but he grew up playing ball and he got this scholarship to go to this school, and the school lives and breathes basketball, and he's like one of the best basketball players in the country. And, why would he be involved and everything else? And then, of course, you go through the story, you go through it. And I don't want to give away too much, because I want you guys to sit down and watch it. But what I found to be interesting, again, when the shit humor was funny, but it was really kind of it was hit or miss. It was in terms of when they would do it. There was episodes where there's just not really any jokes. And it was just really approaching this from a straightforward true crime perspective. You could tell that they were more interested in the true crime part of it than the actual being a comedy show. But they also handled it in a way that I thought was really interesting and really good. So, as we get towards the end of the season, again, I had thrown away all attempts to review this thing individually and everything else. I was all like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then I just watched the whole damn thing. What I liked about the ending of it, cause I'll talk a bit about that, which is, it deals a lot with, people being popular in high school and what comes along with that, or, preconceived notions of people, in high school, and what can also be considered the loneliness factor. Like DeMarcus, for example, I thought was a very well written, well acted, well designed character. He's a star basketball player. He's going to go on to play whatever college he wants to go to. He has to deal with his best friend, who's basically running the empire behind the scenes, controlling everything that he does, wanting him to go to a specific school. He also is well loved by everyone, like the kids, the staff, and he can do no wrong, really. But he's also lonely because he doesn't know who he can trust. He doesn't know who likes him for him, and everything is controlled for him. Everything is regulated. His meals, his caloric intake, his training, his entire day is structured. And so everything, he doesn't know whether or not it's real or fake. And so when he gets kind of caught in this catfishing situation, that's what he wanted. And then you have like the rich girl who, again, is she fakes. She doesn't fake, but she has the money to go out and live this lavish life on Instagram, and she uses it as a way to make people jealous of her, because when they're jealous of her, she is able to then use that like as a defense, as a defense mechanism against her own insecurities, which then get used against her. And of course, then there's Kevin, who was called, shit stain McLean from 6th grade. He went from having, and there's this line in like the second episode, where first or second episode, where they talk about shit stain McLean and how he was really popular, when he was in 6th grade. He would have a birthday party where like 35 kids would show up. And then the whole shit stain McLean thing happened, where he just sat in some mud while they were out on while they were playing soccer in PE one day. And then everyone, started mocking him, started making fun of him. So then he became this outcast. And so he went from having a 35-person birthday party to like a 6-person birthday party. And that was such an interesting line to me, because I'm like, yeah, ostrich is, the ostracization of children, how bullying and online harassment and cyber harassment can have these impacts and everything else. And that could be why people do what they do. And as a result of that, I just thought the season was very much, I mean, it wasn't even really being subtle about its takes on these issues. It was very much going, no, this is a problem. The way we deal with it was kind of talking about a two lives scenario, where you've got your IRL life and you've got your online life, and the two are rarely ever the same. The two are rarely ever 100% connected, where your online life is always the highlights of your life, where you're always just doing, what's best for you, or you're trying to show everyone that you're happy, but on the inside you're not happy. On the inside you're miserable, or you can't showcase that you're having a bad day because it gives people the wrong impression, and you're fake. You wear these masks, and that becomes this kind of crusade by the Turdburgler, is to expose people for being as full of shit as they are. And again, it's very poignant, and it's very in your face, and it doesn't hide it and doesn't stray away from it. And that's okay. That is okay, because I think it does it in such a way that is brilliantly written and very, very, very meticulously put together. And as I was watching it, I was all like, okay, so there was the twist at the end of the first season with Dylan having not done it, but then eventually kind of gives in to what they were already saying about him, where he then went and spray painted a dick on the one teacher's driveway, because that's kind of who he, they told him he was this for so long, and he just did it. He gave them what they wanted, so to speak. And then you've got this season, something similar like that happens. I won't go into the full details of it, even though this has already been a spoiler-filled thing anyway. But it made sense how they broke it down. It made sense with Kevin's story specifically, how you're rooting for him. And then you find out, and then you're like, oh, Kevin, oh, right. But then at the end, there's sympathy there for him. And I like that. Like, his friend was like, I was mad at him for doing what he did, but then I saw what happened to him, and you just see how lonely he was. And then his friends realized that there's more to life than popularity in high school. And they come back around, and they start doing more stuff IRL together. Well, he's on house arrest at the end, but I kind of will spoiler, sorry. And then of course they kind of come back together in the end of that. And the same thing with DeMarcus. DeMarcus ends up taking control of his life, taking it back from people who've tried to control him through whatever reasons. And so again, it's everything about this this two life reality we have. And how it impacts teenagers. What I thought was really funny too is there's a whole thing. I swear to God, the guys who wrote the show they're very addicted to dick jokes. Because there was like a line there where somebody ends up getting a nude photo leaked out there, and he's uncircumcised, and he's all like, "What, man? Like, how hard it is to explain to girls in America that outside of the U.S. this is just how it is." Like, I thought that was really funny, really poignant line about about penises and uncircumcised stuff, uncircumcised dicks and everything. But that's kind of how I view American Vandal. Is all about the dicks. If you want my honest opinion, season 2 is better written than season 1. I don't know if I'm going to go back and rewatch season 2 as much as I would rewatch season 1. But it was compelling. It was fascinating. It was fun to watch, and it just was a lot darker. And so it's one of those things where it's like, you want to make sure you're in the right mindset. Whereas in the first one, it was lighter hearted, and you could kind of come and go as you pleased, in regards to binging. And I will say I was a little bit bummed that there wasn't a kind of a repeat of episode 5 of season 1. And that's the episode where they're trying to track the can of spray paint through the party using Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter posts and everything else. There was nothing like that here. But they still conducted a very interesting investigation, even if Peter and Sam were in it. But like for the first couple episodes, they were barely in it. It felt like they were there and like, oh, they're the ones putting this together. But they took themselves out of trying to conduct the investigation in order to give you the backstory of all the other characters that populated this season. And I found that to be very interesting. And I was a little bit bummed too, just to be fair, that Gabby wasn't even mentioned at all. Dylan was mentioned in the very beginning of the episode of the season when they're kind of recapping what happened at Hanover High down in Oceanside, but there was like nothing, like no other characters came around. And I'm hoping that season three, because I know they're going to give it to him, it brings back Dylan and brings back, let's say, Kevin, and puts them in the same room together, because I think Kevin McClane's attitude and Dylan's mindset together is going to be just this powder keg of hilarity. And the way that the show is written is so good that I feel like it's just it's pretty damn perfect. So if you guys haven't watched this yet and you've listened to this, you should go watch it 100%. And then and as you're watching it, think about your online existence versus your IRL thoughts and feelings, and whether or not you've been in a similar situation or kind of been coerced to do some stuff like that. It's very fascinating. It's very introspective, and I found that that was an amazing thing to watch, an amazing thing to behold. But anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day. Be sure to like, comment, rate, and subscribe. And if you want more reviews for shows on Netflix, let me know in the comments what you'd like me to review next, and then I'll see if I can do it. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out. If you enjoyed this video, please consider becoming a patron today for just $1 per month over at patreon.com/MundaneMatt.